And good evening. It's Thursday and the 15th day of October. That puts us almost halfway through the 10th month. And on that note, it's not going to feel like the calendar dictates. I've got an adjustment for you for your weekend forecast, and it's not a favorable one at that. We're still talking about temperatures in the 50s, that being low to mid for daytime highs. And it's nighttime lows that have dropped significantly since I saw you last. And we were already expecting them to be right around the 30-degree mark. So yeah, that's where they're going from there. More on your forecast in just a few moments. The Johnson County Fiscal Court met in regular session earlier this week. They spoke of several items, including recognizing some first responders from another county, as well as tax rates and some other items. We'll have a brief update on all those happenings for you from that meeting in just a few moments. There was a hearing today in McGoffin County Circuit Court as it pertains to the McGoffin County Public Library Board and the old Sagersville First Baptist Church building. And a local man was airlifted today after being caught in a corn picker. I've got that and some other headlines to follow in just a few moments. Before I go any further, a couple of remarks. First, I have mentioned a bear story for the past several days, and I'm not giving up hope, but today was the first day out of the past several days that this little cub, which was born just this past winter and is not much bigger than, they say, 20 to 30 pounds, didn't come out and peruse the neighborhood as it had for the past several days. There had also been a resident trying to get someone with animal control or something of that nature to help make sure that the animal, which appears to have been separated from its mother, which may be harmed or just separated, make sure that it was okay and placed in a more suitable environment and not around all the homes. Well, they got some help today with that, and I don't have any cute pictures to show you as I was hoping to. I know a lot of them have been shared on Facebook, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that we'll have that bear story for you sometime soon, maybe before we leave you for the week. Of course, that would be tomorrow. I got a phone call earlier today I wanted to pass along to you. It simply said on the caller ID 2440806 and had Louisa, Kentucky underneath. There was no area code in front of it, and something appeared to be odd, and I'd actually seen the missed call earlier, and I Googled the number and was a little bit, I had a little bit of a heads up after that as to what the phone call was. The second time I answered it, it was a lady who answered, who I answered to when I picked up the phone, and she asked for James, and I said, there's no James here, and she says, there's not a James Perkins, I believe was the name that she used, and I said, no, and she said, well, James Perkins entered a contest at a mall when he was there shopping and has received a $1,200 GE gift card. But since he's not there, you can have it. I got all excited. I said, well, James is my next door neighbor. Let me go get him. And she kind of hesitated and said, okay. And I let her hang on for about 35 minutes before I noticed that she finally hung up. Nevertheless, 2440806 is that number. It shows Louisa. It indeed is a scam. Absolutely pathetic. Nevertheless. On tomorrow's program, the McGoffin County Fiscal Court is to meet tomorrow at 3 to set tax rates, or to discuss tax rates at least, which apparently came to a stalemate, a standoff vote, if you will, 2-2 last time on both fronts. McGoffin County Grand Jury has returned indictments, several today. I'll have those tomorrow. McGoffin County Board of Education meets this evening, and I am set to go to an area school to talk about major accomplishment, scholastic and athletic combined. That's all I'm going to say on that front. It indeed is going to be a full show tomorrow. You wouldn't want to miss any of them. Certainly don't miss tomorrow's. With that said, I returned to Sagersville today after being in neighboring Johnson to discover that the McGoffin County Rescue Squad had responded to a farming accident. It's late in the season, but some farmers, of course, are still working their fields and picking corn. And today, some loose clothing caused one farmer to get 2 limbs stuck in a corn picker. Fortunately, his wife was very close by and was able to shut down the equipment before any more damage could be done.
We haven't had one of those a long time, but the training we received years ago started to kick in. And thinking about the corn picker, you know, it depends on the age, the model of it. So on our arrival, the subject was his right arm was caught in the rollers, and his left leg was pinned with at the bottom of the corn picker. So we did our observation, and remembering that for every action we do, there's a reaction. So we have to make sure that if we turned a cog or a piece of driveline, what is going to turn? Is that going to be reversed or is that going to be forward? So a couple of initial tries, and that did not work. So we took our jaws, and at the bottom where the corn goes in, the covering and the frame, and we tried to pry. We started prying that apart, and once we done that, then it removed, also made opening bigger up where the rollers were, and then we were able to extricate the subject. His left arm, due to compression factor, at that time did not have any filling in it, where the blood vessels was cut off. His left leg, we had lacerations and possible fracture. So Kentucky 4 helicopter service was called in and landed there at the mouth of Buck. Remember, any loose clothing, and this is what happened to the subject previously, that when he reached in, his loose clothing on his sleeve got caught in the rollers, and that's what pulled him down.
Conley said the accident happened near Buck Creek off of Route 7 in the southern part of Magoffin County.
I've spoken to some family afterwards, and I've learned that the accident victim was Flynn Arnott, and his wife, being a registered nurse, retired, I'm sure was of great assistance to Flynn. I've also learned that Carter Conley told me after the interview that he spoke with a paramedic just before liftoff who said that Flynn was starting to get just a little bit of feeling back into his hand, and that indeed, of course, is a good sign. We certainly wish him well. He was airlifted to the Pikeville Medical Center, and he had just engaged the picker and was getting ready to take it into the field, making sure that it was operational and all ready to go, when just a portion of a loose sleeve got tangled up in the machinery. The rescue squad also responded to a scooter accident on Limestone Branch off of Rock House off of 460 just immediately upon leaving that scene. It was a serious accident involving a broken bone, at least one or two. That victim was taken by ambulance to an area hospital for his or her injuries. With that said, Johnson County Fiscal Court is next.
To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband.
Library tax rates, first responders from another neighboring county, and other items of discussion in this week's regular session of the Johnson County Fiscal Court.
After payment of the bills and other items of regular business, Judge Tucker Daniel said that in response to some calls and questions as to why the county does not have a tourism commission, as does the city of Paintsville, he brought before the fiscal court the question as to whether or not they would want him to look into the matter. They said they did. He said he would take the next couple of months to conduct a study to see the feasibility of such an entity. Trick-or-treat time was set for the county, mimicking the time of the city of Paintsville, so as not to interfere with Friday night football. Trick-or-treat has been set for Saturday the 31st, Halloween, 6 to 8 in all of Johnson County. Judge Tucker Daniel also made 2 appointments to the Johnson County Extension Board, Debbie Hackworth and Teresa O'Brien. Amendments were made to the sheriff's budget to accept some budget increases, and discussion of Homeland Security grants followed that, where the judge informed everyone that they had received a great deal, but not all of the grants they had applied for, a portion of them going to a warning siren system for Johnson County.
We're thankful to get $20,000. That certainly won't cover the entire county, but it's a start. And Gary, I'm sure that's something that you and Regina have been looking at, trying to get numbers together to try to make an informed decision on what we're going to do and why. In addition to that one, the Red Bush Volunteer Fire Department has been approved for $10,500 in grant money for turnout gear, and I think the same amount of money, $10,500, for the Flat Gap Volunteer Fire Department for turnout gear. Is that right? That's correct, sir. Okay, so that's just a matter of information.
Next came time to set the library tax rate for Johnson County. This is an acceptance by the Johnson County Fiscal Court of the property tax rates, which are set by the Library District Board themselves. They set the real property tax rate at 8.5 cents per $100 of valuation, which Judge Daniel said is where it's been for the past 5 years, that same amount. And for personal property, it was actually a reduction. It was 13.4 since last year per $100 evaluation. The library board in Johnson County has now elected to take that down to 11.75 cents per every $100 evaluation.
This is not something that we approve or disapprove. This is something we accept. Their board sets the rates, and the court accepts those rates as they are determined. You got anything, Karen, you'd like to say?
That's going to be less. We're not taking the compensating rate or anything. We're not taking what they suggested even.
Okay, so why did they set the rate lower?
I have no idea. I mean, that's a conundrum in itself. They think maybe it may be because people and the economy the way that it is may have some kind of influence on that, but they don't have a set answer, and I'm sure after everybody has turned their assessments in, their rates in, that maybe they'll come out with an answer of why that is, but it's lower.
The fiscal court also chose to take a portion of their meeting to recognize members of the Floyd County Rescue Squad and their swift water rescue team for their efforts and assistance to their neighbors in the flooding of Johnson County back in July, in which they helped save and rescue 26 people from the floodwaters and their homes.
One of the reasons I wanted to come down is I have the honor of being the captain of probably one of the most wonderful organizations there ever was to me. Most of you may know why Floyd County Rescue Squad was ever created anyway, and that was because of the bus crash in '58. Kentucky never had a rescue squad until April 27, 1958. We take a lot of pride in what we do. We're serious about it. I have, for the last 10 years that I've been captain, I'm a firm believer that God created the squad, God kept the squad, and it's not going anywhere until He says it's over. We were commissioned by Emergency Manager Kluwer and Regional Manager Hecker to aid and cover this county, which is just as much home to me as a few miles down the road, too, in swift water flood rescue and search. I want to thank you for trusting us and for allowing us to be a part of your community. We have a radio auction every year. We have for 48 years. And the businesses and the people of Johnson County have always taken care of us too, even at our radio auction. So we owe them. We owe them. We owe anybody that is our neighbor. And that's what we want to try to do.
And of course, as they were born throughout necessity and response to that bus accident, the Magoffin County Rescue Squad, that of Johnson County, and others were born from their initiative to begin the first ever rescue squad in Kentucky. And for that, we thank them. Now it's time to tune on over and find out what's happening on tonight's Magoffin Farm Bureau community calendar. A reminder about the event tomorrow, ladies, the Magoffin County Pink Ribbon Luncheon for our ambassadors of breast cancer. It's just for 1 hour tomorrow, noon to 1 at the Magoffin County Extension Office. Of course, they'll have lunch as well as information and presentations. The Kentucky Cancer Program, the Highlands Regional Cancer Center will have representatives there. A survivor of breast cancer as well will be speaking tomorrow, noon till 1 at the Pink Ribbon Luncheon at the Magoffin County Extension Office. You can register at 11:30 tomorrow morning, just prior to it beginning. A couple of other reminders before we leave you for this evening. The Healthy Holiday Series continues next week. It's Tuesdays between now and November the 10th at the Licking River Baptist Church. And on Wednesdays, it's at noon. It's the same series, two different locations to make it great and an opportunity for you to take in sessions on cooking sides, appetizers, sauces and dips, salads, entrees, desserts, and potluck and more, and it's all free. It sounds so tasty. McGoffin County Senior Citizens wants to remind you that seniors, tomorrow is Commodity Day. They had to postpone it from today due to some training, but commodities will be distributed tomorrow at your McGoffin County Senior Citizen Center. The Sagersville Free Will Baptist Church invites you to join Pastor Floyd Arnott invites you to join them with Todd Masters for special services tomorrow and Saturday evening at 7, and then homecoming and family and friendship day will be Sunday morning at 11 with Todd Masters, and dinner will follow those services. The Mountain of Hope Free Christian Concert is this Saturday, noon till 6, a wonderful afternoon and evening of a whole lot of entertainment. Great gospel music, fellowship, Christian music, and churches. All churches are invited. Everyone within an earshot of this is invited to join them on Burning Fork. Call 496-5415 if you have any questions. You'll see the signs. Come and join them. The Bradley Free Will Baptist Church is having their homecoming and old-fashioned day this Sunday with dinner to follow. Come and join them. This is your invitation. And don't forget about the Kentucky Chautauqua series by the Humanities Council. That is at the McGoffin County Health Department this Saturday starting at 6. They'll have Grandpa Jones and Colonel Harlan Sanders, free to everyone, sponsored by the McGoffin County Civil War Committee. Our calendar's free too, and this is how you get announcements on it, including birthdays and anniversaries. Turning to funeral service announcements, a reminder about services to be held tomorrow at 1 in honor of 78-year-old Fonzie Howard, former McGoffin County Constable and a resident of Buffalo Creek, who passed away this week, survived by sons Tommy, Ronnie Jean, Lonzie Dwayne, and Matthew Scott, and daughter Stephanie Johnson, and Tracy Michelle Howard, and Sherry Lynn Henson. Visitation this evening, services tomorrow at 1. Also services tomorrow at 1 for Alice Stambo, that's Alice Faye LeMaster Stambo of Paintsville, survived by 3 daughters. Services to be held at the Mountain Community Fellowship Church in her honor tomorrow at 1 o'clock. In an ongoing report on the heels of McGoffin County Judge Executive Charles Hardin setting a hearing for later on next week on Friday the 23rd to begin what he called removal proceedings of 3 McGoffin County Library Board members whose terms had expired, and for what he also said were inefficiencies in their performance, a citizens group and a board member of the McGoffin County Library Board have sought to legally stop any possible demolition of the old Sagersville First Baptist Church until a variety of matters could be solved and resolved, for which attorney Ned Pillersdorf represented them today in court before Circuit Judge Kim Childers.
There really are 2 bases to try and prevent the demolition of the church. The first is the funds allotted to the church by the legislature. It was with the understanding the money would be used to renovate the church. Thereafter, the library board, for some inexplicable reason, decided to demolish the church. We have also discovered, when we investigated this, that 3 of the 5 members of the library board, their terms expired. We've taken a position in court that those 3 members, their votes to demolish the church are void or voidable, and basically their terms have expired. So whenever they have been meeting, they may say they have a quorum, but they don't. What happened today in McGoffin Circuit Court was Judge Childers granted our request that basically there's a court order preventing the demolition of the church until there's a full hearing, which will be on Wednesday, October 28th at 9 o'clock. So basically there will be no demolition of the church between now and then. The reason we hurried up and brought the motion was last Friday, I was advised by our client, Dwight David Moore, who's a member of the library board and the one library board member who's adamantly opposed to the destruction of this church. Basically, he was told that there was an emergency meeting to let the bids for the demolition crew. Unfortunately, or fortunately as it turns out, they only gave him 23 hours notice when you're supposed to give 24 hours notice. So the meeting to, I guess, expedite the demolition of the church was aborted. So this will allow us at least until October 28th to have a full hearing before the judge in which we will argue the 2 points I made. One, that the board members who voted to demolish the church are not entitled to vote because their terms expired. And 2, the money that the legislature appropriated to renovate the church should not in any way, shape, form be used to demolish the church. I also understand from documents I've received that next Friday, I believe, the McGoffin Fiscal Court will actually have a hearing to remove these board members whose terms have expired. If that happens, that will likely, as we say in the law, moot out our case and effectively prevent them from demolishing the church until such time as a legally constituted library board meets and then they can then, I guess, revisit this issue. On the 28th, we will present our arguments and offer evidence that the 3 members of the McGoffin Library Board, that their terms have expired. I don't really think there's an issue about that, but we'll have to put on that evidence. We will also put on the history of this, that basically money was appropriated to renovate and not demolish the church. So it's really a misuse of taxpayer funds. I think there's a fundamental problem when you go to the legislature and say, give me all this money, and the library board got a lot of money, and we're going to renovate the church, and then you turn around and demolish it. I think if they'd gone to the legislature and said we want to demolish this church, I don't think the legislature would have given that money. So I think there's some, well, misinformation, let me put it that way, or they're certainly not using the money in the way it was granted. And more importantly, there's something more important going on here. I mean, that church is part of Salyersville. It's been there forever. And it's the character of the city. And I understand there's plenty other places the library board has been offered for another library. My representation of these folks are my clients. They do want a new library. They just don't want the church torn down.
And I am out of time. A real short and sweet forecast powered by Licking Valley RECC has us a low of 46, partly cloudy skies tonight. Go UK against Auburn. Areas of fog, and then things start to change. We've got a cold front coming. Tomorrow we'll see 64, mostly sunny, pretty nice. As far as precipitation from the cold front, very little. A few sprinkles, a chance thereof late tomorrow night with a low of 36. It's your weekend that's going to see a big change. Frost in the morning when you get up on Saturday, 54 for the high, 25 for the nighttime low. Clear skies, more frost to the end of your Saturday, and more frost Sunday, 55 and 25 again.
Once again, a busy day tomorrow. The McGoffin County Fiscal Court set to address tax rates in a special session tomorrow, and you may recall what happened the last time they did so. Indictments returned by McGoffin County Grand Jury, the McGoffin County Board of Education meeting tonight, and a special announcement on behalf of one of our schools, and much more, I'm sure, that will work into the last show of this week, one you certainly don't want to miss, one we hope you're here for tomorrow night. For now, thank you for being a part of this one, and have a good evening.